While most rookies dream of signing bonuses, SHEDEUR Sanders was calculating lifetime returns. When Gatorade offered a $60 million deal, he countered, not for more cash but for 3% equity. That decision could net him hundreds of millions more over time, especially as Gatorade continues its global expansion. For a fifth-round draft pick, this kind of foresight is rare. But SHEDEUR isn't just another athlete.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
He's building an empire with the mindset of an investor, not a client. Backed by the prime equity framework his father Dion crafted, SHEDEUR has total control over his brand. It's why he can command half of every jersey sold, over 375,000 so far, and why his Nike contract jumped to $250 million after one preseason game. His brand stretches from barbecue sauce to telecom, and every deal is a reflection of his strategic autonomy. He's not chasing endorsement money, he's buying stakes, negotiating like an executive, and setting up a future few in sports have ever imagined. Let's make one thing clear. This isn't just a story about SHEDEUR Sanders getting paid. It's about how he's reshaping the entire idea of what it means to be a professional athlete in today's world. Because what he just pulled off with Gatorade, that wasn't just a big check. That was a shift in power. A fifth-round draft pick didn't just land a sponsorship. He walked away with ownership. Gatorade offered him $60 million over 3 years. Locked in. Guaranteed. For most rookies, that would be life-changing money. But SHEDEUR looked at the offer and said no. Not because he didn't want the deal, but because he wanted more than a payout. He wanted a piece of the pie. And now, he owns 3% of Gatorade USA. That kind of move is unheard of, especially for someone drafted 144th overall. This isn't a top 3 pick with MVP hype. This is a player who, by all traditional standards, should have been happy to be in the room. But SHEDEUR didn't show up to blend in. He showed up with a plan. And that plan starts with prime equity, the business framework developed with his father, Deion Sanders. It's not a slogan. It's a model. It's the reason SHEDEUR can negotiate his own deals, keep 100% of his profits, and maintain complete control over his image. While other rookies are handing over licensing rights before they've even learned the playbook, SHEDEUR owns every single photo, ad, and commercial with his name on it. The Gatorade equity move is just one example of how that model works in real time. Most endorsement contracts are one-sided. The brand gets lifetime value and the player gets a lump sum. But SHEDEUR flipped it. He turned a short-term check into a long-term revenue stream, tied to one of the most dominant companies in global sports culture. And while that alone would be enough to turn heads, it's only one piece of a much bigger machine. Before he ever suited up in the NFL, SHEDEUR had already made history. His Nike deal was a record-setter. $125 million upfront, with a performance clause that doubled it to $250 million after his very first preseason game. Not a full season. Not a playoff berth. One preseason appearance and the contract jumped to $250 million. That clause didn't reward wins. It rewarded visibility. It was written by someone who understood that being seen is value. And SHEDEUR's presence was already big enough to justify it. And that's where it gets even crazier. This is a fifth-rounder who outsold every rookie in jersey sales before the season started. Over 375,000 jerseys gone. And unlike every other player in the league, he negotiated a 50% cut of those profits. That's not normal. That's not even close to what standard player deals look like. Typically, players get a sliver, if anything. SHEDEUR's taking home half. Again, not a first-round pick. Not a Super Bowl champ. Just someone who understood the game behind the game, and walked in already winning. But it's not just jerseys and endorsements. SHEDEUR's building a portfolio. His deal with Brady? $75 million annually. That's not a cosign. That's a full-scale brand partnership. Add in EA Sports, AT&T, his own barbecue sauce line. It's a diverse, calculated strategy. None of these are random deals for quick cash. Each one is a vertical in a long-term wealth plan. And here's the part that really separates him from the rest. SHEDEUR's not relying on football to keep him relevant. He's using football as a platform to scale a business model. That's the difference. He's not just betting on himself to perform, he's building income streams that don't rely on touchdowns, game checks, or media hype. Which is why analysts aren't even blinking when they say it. He could become the youngest billionaire in NFL history while still an active player. Not because of a contract extension. Not because of endorsements alone. But because of ownership. Because of equity. Because of prime equity. And the timing? Couldn't be more perfect. In an era where college athletes are finally gaining nil rights and young players are more brand savvy than ever, SHEDEUR is showing them what it looks like to take control from day one. He's not just the example. He's the case study. And this is where the league has to start paying attention. Because for decades, teams and sponsors have controlled the business side of an athlete's career. Players were talent. Marketable, yes, but replaceable. Valuable only so long as they produced. But SHEDEUR's flipping that model on its head. He's showing that your worth isn't defined by your draft slot or your stat line. It's defined by how you build and protect your brand. And the ripple effect is coming. Other rookies are going to see this and start asking better questions. They're going to demand clauses. They're going to expect equity. They're going to walk into meetings with full media teams, legal advisors, and brand strategies already in place. And when that happens, the entire business of professional sports is going to shift. Because the truth is, it had to. The old system was built for players to work hard, make money, and then start over when their career ends. But careers end fast. Injuries happen. Depth charts change. Teams move on. SHEDEUR's already insulated himself from that volatility. Whether he plays 2 years or 15, his business empire isn't tied to his stat sheet. That's what makes this so groundbreaking. It's not just about making money, it's about making money that outlasts the game. And that's not a guess. It's already happening. With equity in Gatorade. With 50% of every jersey sold. With $250 million from Nike. With $75 million every year from Brady. With a growing product portfolio that's expanding across industries. This isn't branding. It's infrastructure. And for a league that's always relied on structure to control players, this kind of autonomy is a real threat. Because the second more athletes start demanding ownership instead of checks, everything shifts. The power moves. And if you're still wondering whether this is hype or reality, just follow the money. Follow the clauses. Follow the structure. This isn't PR spin. These are contracts. These are numbers. This is leverage. So, SHEDEUR didn't just go off on the NFL world. He disrupted it. And now we all get to watch what happens next. Let us know how you're feeling about it. Do you think SHEDEUR's setting the new standard for rookie athletes? Or is this a 1 in a million play? Drop a comment, hit that like button if you respect the business game, and don't forget to subscribe, because this story's just getting started and the next move? It's already on the way. Alright, let's keep going, because the more you unpack this SHEDEUR Sanders situation, the more you realize this isn't just a player making big moves. This is a paradigm shift in how athletes are doing business. For decades, the league had the blueprint. You play well, get noticed, and then, if you're lucky, you pick up endorsements. Maybe a shoe deal. Maybe a commercial. And then what? You smile for the camera, sign the deal they wrote for you, and you move on. But SHEDEUR looked at that script and shredded it. He didn't just get a deal with Gatorade. He rewrote the structure of the deal itself. By saying no to $60 million in guaranteed cash and negotiating for 3% equity in Gatorade USA, he bet on something most rookies are never even offered: future value. Think about how that plays out. Gatorade is already a global juggernaut. It doesn't need hype. It doesn't need validation. It's established. It's plugged into leagues, schools, pro teams, international events, and billion-dollar marketing pipelines. That 3% stake isn't just another asset. It's a ticket to generational wealth. And SHEDEUR didn't fall into that opportunity. He engineered it. This is what happens when you stop playing for the quick check and start negotiating like you own the table. And make no mistake, this is what ownership looks like in modern sports. It's not just about buying into a franchise years after retirement. It's about walking into brand deals as a stakeholder, not a hired face. And for a 21-year-old rookie to do that? That's almost unheard of. But he's not doing it in isolation. Every move is part of prime equity, the framework built with Deion Sanders that puts control back in the hands of the athlete. Full image rights, independent contracts, 100% profit retention. It's not just a concept, it's operational. The Gatorade deal is proof of that. So is the Nike contract. So are the jersey sales. And the Nike deal? Let's come back to that for a second. $125 million upfront. Already huge. But what sets it apart is the performance-based clause. Once SHEDEUR stepped onto the field for one preseason game, that clause activated, and the deal doubled to $250 million. That clause didn't rely on a breakout season or a championship. It was tied to exposure. Because the second SHEDEUR suited up, eyeballs followed. And when brands know you're driving attention, you're no longer a liability, they treat you like a platform. That's the role SHEDEUR has stepped into. Not just athlete. Platform. And he's maximizing every angle. Jersey sales? Over 375,000 sold before week 1. That's not just wild, it's historic. No other rookie, not even the top overall pick, came close. And SHEDEUR's cut? 50%. Half of every jersey sold goes directly into his pocket. Let that sink in. While most players get a cut so small it's practically ceremonial, SHEDEUR has actual profit sharing built into his merchandise. That doesn't happen. Teams don't allow it. Leagues fight it. But he got it. What? Because he brought leverage. Not based on where he was drafted, but on what he had built. And what he's building is an empire. From sports to lifestyle to tech to food, SHEDEUR's not just a quarterback. He's a brand architect. He launched a barbecue sauce line, not as a novelty but as part of a broader consumer play. And it doesn't stop there. There's a high-profile $75 million per year partnership with Brady, ongoing collaborations with EA Sports and AT&T, and a media strategy that puts him in control of how his story is told. These aren't random endorsements. These are verticals. Because if one thing defines this whole journey, it's strategy. SHEDEUR isn't gambling. He's planning. Every deal is built to scale. Every contract is designed for growth. He's stacking assets while most rookies are still figuring out how to navigate team meetings. And it's paying off. Because now, analysts are saying the quiet part out loud. SHEDEUR Sanders could become the youngest billionaire in NFL history while he's still active on the field. That's not clickbait. That's not hypothetical. That's the logical outcome of everything he's doing right now. Gatorade equity. Nike profits. Massive brand partnerships. 50% of all jersey sales. Full ownership of image rights. A diversified portfolio that spans industries. That's not just income. That's legacy. And the industry knows it. Because when one player breaks through the system this early, it creates pressure. It shifts expectations. Teams, agents, brands, they're all now looking at the next crop of athletes wondering who's going to ask for equity next. This is the ripple effect. The new standard. Because if SHEDEUR Sanders, pick number 144, can get these deals, what's stopping anyone else? And this is the part that's got execs nervous. Because for so long, the leverage has been in the hands of the institutions. The draft position, the endorsement tiers, the licensing models, all designed to limit what players can ask for early on. But SHEDEUR walked in with leverage already built. He had numbers. He had reach. He had narrative. And he used it. Now the blueprint is out there. You don't need to be a top 5 pick to dominate the market. You just need control of your story, your name, your likeness, your revenue. SHEDEUR has all of that. And while the league adjusts, he's still moving, still building. Because this isn't a PR stunt. It's not a one-time play. This is just how he's operating. He's not disrupting the system temporarily, he's replacing it. Quietly, confidently, contract by contract. And that's the part people miss. It's not just about SHEDEUR being an exception. It's that he's turning this into a formula. Repeatable. Transferable. And that means it's only a matter of time before others follow. Because this isn't about football anymore. It's about how you play the game behind the game. And SHEDEUR? He's undefeated in that department. He's already shown that you can be an athlete and an entrepreneur at the same time. That you can be in your rookie year and still hold equity in a billion-dollar brand. That you don't need to wait for legacy status to demand ownership. You can start there. So now the question isn't, can SHEDEUR pull this off? He already has. The question is, what comes next? Because once you've secured ownership in Gatorade, doubled your Nike contract, dominated jersey sales, and locked in multi-million-dollar brand deals before week 1, what's the next level? Media company? Investment group? Product line expansion? All of it's on the table. And based on everything he's done so far, don't be surprised when it happens. Quietly. On his terms. With full control. Because SHEDEUR Sanders isn't playing the long game. He's the long game. And the thing is, the NFL doesn't really know what to do with someone like SHEDEUR Sanders. They've seen flashy players before. They've seen media-savvy rookies, social media influencers, even second-generation talents with famous last names. But what they haven't seen, what they've never had to deal with, is a rookie who shows up already operating like a venture capitalist. Who doesn't just want a commercial deal but wants to sit in on the revenue meetings. Who doesn't just endorse a product but owns part of the company that makes it. That's why this Gatorade move hit so hard. It's not just that he turned down $60 million. It's that he knew that money was going to cap his value. It was a finite payday. And instead of grabbing that short-term win, he made a long-term investment in himself. In his brand. In his future. Because 3% of Gatorade USA isn't just a flex. It's a decision. A financial strategy that says, I believe in my ability to scale my name. I believe in my cultural relevance. I believe this brand will grow and so will I. That's confidence you don't see in many rookies, especially not ones drafted outside of the top 100. But SHEDEUR? He's not worried about where he was drafted. Because the numbers that matter to him aren't combined stats or analyst rankings. They're equity percentages, performance clauses, and brand value. And he's already changed the way people think about marketability. Before him, draft status dictated everything. The earlier you were picked, the more attention you got. The better your deals. The more leverage you had. That was the formula. Until a fifth-round pick outsold the entire rookie class in jerseys. Until that same pick secured a 50% cut of those jersey profits. Until that same pick activated a $250 million Nike deal in the preseason. The formula's broken now. You don't need to be first-round material to move the market. You just need a brand. And more importantly, you need control of it. That's what SHEDEUR's mastered. He's not being sold, he's selling. He's not waiting on opportunities, he's designing them. That's the prime equity model in full effect. And that's why this isn't just impressive, it's disruptive. Because the NFL, like every major league, has built its entire business around control. Control over media, image, branding, and narrative. Control over who gets what, when, and for how much. That's how the system stays stable, predictable, profitable. But SHEDEUR has cracked that system open without ever breaking the rules. That's what's so wild. He hasn't held out. He hasn't bashed the league. He hasn't played the villain. He just walked in with his contracts ready and started closing deals no one thought were possible. And the ripple effects are already here. Other athletes, especially younger ones, are watching this closely. College stars. Nil darlings. Future draft picks. They're realizing they don't have to wait for success to be handed to them. They can create it. And that's going to change everything. Recruiting. Draft day negotiations. Endorsement structures. Jersey sales. Even how athletes interact with their teams. When one player proves you can control your own image and build independent wealth before your first season ends, it puts pressure on everyone else to step up, or be left behind. And here's what's really interesting. SHEDEUR is making all these moves while still keeping focus on football. He's not phoning it in. He's not distracted. He's balancing business with training, growth with performance. And that's the piece people didn't expect. Because let's be honest, the stereotype has always been that when a player is too focused on branding, it means they're not serious about the game. That if you're doing commercials or launching products, you must be losing focus. But SHEDEUR's proving that idea outdated and flat out wrong. He's showing that you can dominate in both arenas. That you don't have to choose between being a top-tier athlete and a savvy entrepreneur. You can be both, if you build it right. And SHEDEUR built it right. This isn't chaos. It's structure. Every deal complements the next. Every brand aligns with his image. Every partnership feeds into a bigger vision. He's not just taking endorsements, he's building infrastructure. He's not cashing checks, he's collecting returns. The Nike contract? Scaled based on performance. The jersey deal? Tied directly to sales. The Gatorade stake? Equity that grows over time. The Brady partnership? A long-term annual payout that builds brand legacy. This isn't short-term clout. It's a long-term wealth model. And that's why this story won't fade out by mid-season. Because while other rookies are trying to go viral or make the highlight reel, SHEDEUR is stacking assets. He's changing what success looks like in real time. And the league? They can't ignore it anymore. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. But the truth is, he's done more off the field in one off-season than most players do over an entire career. And the scary part is, he's only just begun. So what's next? That's the question. Because this Gatorade deal wasn't a climax. It was a signal. A heads up to every major brand, investor, and executive in the sports world. If you want in on SHEDEUR Sanders, you're not signing an athlete, you're entering a partnership. And partnerships, as we've seen, come with terms. Ownership, control, profit sharing, visibility clauses, image rights, independence. That's the SHEDEUR Sanders standard now. And you either meet it or you miss out. And let's be honest, how many other athletes are going to look at his trajectory and start asking for the same terms? How many are going to demand better clauses, more transparency, and a seat at the table? It's not a matter of if, it's when. Because whether the league wants it or not, SHEDEUR just set the new baseline. So yeah, he went off. Not in an Instagram rant. Not in a post-game press conference. but in a negotiation room, in a boardroom, in a jersey sales report, in a contract activation clause. He went off by changing the value of a rookie before the first down, by flipping the script on athlete branding, by proving that you don't need to wait your turn, you just need to know your worth. And now we're watching the aftershocks. The entire landscape of pro sports branding is going to feel this. Some will adapt, others won't. But the truth is, SHEDEUR didn't just make a deal. He made a statement. So if you've been sleeping on the business side of sports, it's time to wake up. Because this isn't a fad. This isn't a one-off. This is what happens when preparation meets power. When branding meets vision. When a player walks into the league with his playbook and his portfolio already ready. SHEDEUR Sanders didn't change the game. He built a new one. Because at this point it's not even about whether SHEDEUR Sanders is ahead of the curve, he is the curve. There's no traditional playbook for what he's doing because he threw that thing out before the draft even started. Most rookies walk into the NFL hoping to make the team. SHEDEUR walked in with equity in Gatorade, a $250 million Nike contract, 50% of jersey sales, and a brand portfolio that already rivals most retired Hall of Famers. He didn't just show up prepared, he showed up positioned. Positioned to win whether or not the team around him delivers. Positioned to profit whether or not he ever touches a Super Bowl. Positioned to own his narrative no matter how the league tries to package him. Because here's the uncomfortable truth for a lot of traditionalists. SHEDEUR doesn't need the NFL to define him. Not financially. Not culturally. Not professionally. Sure, he wants to win. He's a competitor. That fire is there. But the difference is, his value doesn't depend on it. He's not waiting for a breakout season to start building wealth. He's not holding out for a Pro Bowl to get big-time endorsements. He's already proven that visibility, brand discipline, and negotiation power can create just as much, if not more, value than what happens on the field. And you know what that does? It makes the entire system nervous. Because athletes with leverage? That's one thing. Athletes with ownership? That's a whole different story. The league isn't built for that. Brands aren't used to that. They're used to athletes being grateful for the opportunity, not walking in as equal partners. But SHEDEUR didn't wait to be given a seat. He built his own table and brought his own team. And now, he's playing the game from a level most people didn't even know existed. So when people say, let's see if he can really make it in the league, cool. Watch the games. But don't sleep on what's already happened. Because whether or not he throws a touchdown next Sunday, the scoreboard in the business world is already lopsided. SHEDEUR is winning. And the league? It's still catching up. Let us know where you stand. Is this the new blueprint for athletes coming up? Or is SHEDEUR a rare case we won't see again? Hit the like button if you respect the business, drop your thoughts in the comments and stick around because the next power move? You'll want to be here when it drops.